Before we begin, please note that this presentation is for informational and educational purposes only. I am not a financial advisor, and the information provided in this video does not constitute financial, legal, or tax advice. The calculations and figures presented are estimates based on publicly available data and standard assumptions, and your individual circumstances will vary. You should consult with a qualified professional for advice tailored to your specific situation. Have you ever heard the joke? What do you call a lawyer with an IQ of 60? Your Honor. Okay, bad joke. Here's a better one. What do you call a first-year law associate in New York City making $225,000 a year? Broke. That's not a joke. That's a tragedy. And it's the dirty little secret of the legal profession that nobody, not your law school, not the fancy recruiting firms, and certainly not your colleagues, wants to talk about. We've all seen the headlines. Big law bumps first-year salaries to $250,000. It's the ultimate carrot on a stick for every aspiring lawyer grinding through late-night study sessions, fueled by caffeine and the crushing weight of impending student loans. It's the number that justifies the 3 years of mental gymnastics and the six-figure price tag of a top-tier legal education. That number, that glorious life-changing salary, is supposed to be the payoff. Your ticket to the good life. A nice apartment, fancy dinners, paying off your debt in a flash, and finally living the life you see on TV. But what if I told you that number is a mirage? A carefully constructed illusion designed to lure the best and brightest into a system that will chew them up, spit them out, and leave them with less financial freedom than a mid-level manager in Omaha, Nebraska. In this video, we are going to expose that illusion. We are going to rip apart the headline salary and show you the terrifying, unvarnished truth about what lawyers in America's biggest cities actually take home. We're not talking about gross pay. Gross pay is a vanity metric. It's a number for press releases. We're talking about the only number that matters, the cash that actually hits your bank account after the government, the loan companies, and your landlord have all taken their pound of flesh. We will go city by city, from the skyscrapers of Manhattan to the tech hubs of Silicon Valley, and we will do the math that no one else is doing. We'll calculate the real after-tax, after-debt, after-cost of living income for a typical big law associate. And by the end of this, you will have a crystal-clear picture of the financial reality of being a high-earning lawyer in modern America. This isn't just for aspiring attorneys. If you're a student drowning in debt, a practicing lawyer wondering where all your money is going, or even just someone curious about the economics of elite professions, this is the wake-up call you need. This is the financial literacy your law school never taught you. So let's get started. And where else could we begin but the belly of the beast, the city that never sleeps, and the place where legal dreams are supposedly made? New York City. The starting salary for a first-year associate at a top-tier law firm in New York is, as of this recording, a stunning $225,000. Let's write that down. 225 followed by 3 zeros. Feels good just to say it. It's more money than most American households make in 3 years. So let's break it down. You might think, okay, divide that by 12, that's almost $19,000 a month. I'm rich. Not so fast. First, let's introduce your new business partner. A silent partner who takes his cut before you ever see a dime. Uncle Sam. The federal government. Based on a $225,000 salary, you're in a high federal income tax bracket. Then you have your FICA taxes, that's Social Security and Medicare. Right off the top, you can expect to lose around 25 to 30% of your gross income to the federal government alone. Let's be conservative and call it 28%. Suddenly, your $225,000 is down to about $162,000. We've already lost $63,000, and we haven't even left the federal level. But in New York, Uncle Sam isn't your only partner. You've also got the state of New York, and they want their piece of the pie. New York has a progressive state income tax that climbs pretty quickly, and at your salary you'll be paying a hefty chunk. And because you're in New York City, you get the special, unique privilege of paying a third income tax, the New York City tax. It's one of the few cities in the country that hits you with its own income tax on top of federal and state. When you add the New York state and city taxes together, you're looking at another 9 to 10% of your income gone. Poof. So let's do the math. We started at $225,000. The feds took about $63,000. The state and city taxman takes another $22,000. Your real, after-tax take-home pay is now somewhere around $140,000 per year. Divided by 12, that gives you a monthly take-home of about $11,600. Okay, that's still a lot of money, right? Over 11 grand a month. But we're just getting started. Now we have to pay for the degree that got you this job in the first place. Let's talk about student loans. The average law school graduate from a private university leaves with over $150,000 in debt. Many from top-tier schools in expensive cities are staring down the barrel of $200,000, $250,000, or even more. Let's use a conservative number. $180,000 in student loans at a 6.5% interest rate. On a standard 10-year repayment plan, your monthly payment is going to be just over $2,000. $2,000 a month that goes straight to the Department of Education or a private lender. For 10 years. So, let's take our $11,600 monthly take-home and subtract that $2,000 student loan payment. Now we're down to $9,600 a month. Still sounds pretty good. But now we have to deal with the single biggest expense, the one that defines life in New York City, housing. As a first-year associate working 80-hour weeks, you don't want a 2-hour commute from the distant suburbs. You need to live somewhere reasonably close to your midtown or downtown office. You're not looking for a palace. You're looking for a safe, clean studio or a one-bedroom apartment. Nothing fancy. In a desirable but not ultra-luxury neighborhood in Manhattan or a trendy part of Brooklyn, the average rent for a modest one-bedroom apartment will easily run you $4,000 a month. And that's if you're lucky. Many pay closer to $5,000. Let's be optimistic and say you find a decent place for $4,200 a month. So, we take our $9,600 and we subtract $4,200 for rent. And suddenly we are left with $5,400. From that $5,400, you still have to pay for everything else that makes life possible. Utilities, internet, electricity, heat, that's probably $300 a month. A monthly subway pass is $132. Groceries in New York City are notoriously expensive. Let's budget a modest $600 a month if you're cooking most of your meals. And let's be real, as a big law associate, you're not cooking most of your meals. You're ordering in late at night at the office, but let's stick to the budget. You also need to contribute to your 401k if you ever hope to retire, pay for health insurance deductibles, maybe a gym membership for your mental health. Let's lump all of that together and call it another $1,000 a month. What are we left with? After taxes, after student loans, after rent, and after basic necessities, our lawyer making $225,000 a year has about $3,300 of discretionary income per month. $3,300. That's the money for your clothes, and you'll need nice ones for the office, for dinners with friends, for a vacation, for saving for a down payment on a home that you'll never be able to afford, for any hope of building actual wealth. From a headline salary of nearly $19,000 a month, the reality is a discretionary income of just over $3,000. You are living a lifestyle that is, from a cash flow perspective, equivalent to someone making about $65,000 a year in a city like Houston, Texas. Except the person in Houston probably owns a home, has no student debt, and doesn't have a partner at the firm emailing them at 3 a.m. This is the six-figure trap. You have the prestige, the title, the long hours to prove it, but your actual financial freedom is a fraction of what you and everyone else thinks it is. And here's the most brutal part. New York isn't even the worst offender. You think the taxes and rent are high in Manhattan? Just wait until we fly across the country to San Francisco, where the state income tax is the highest in the nation and a one-bedroom apartment is considered a bargain if it's under $5,000. The numbers there are even more staggering. But hidden within this landscape of financial pain are a few surprising cities. Cities you might not expect, where that same big law salary can actually make you wealthy. We're going to uncover which cities are financial traps and which are gold mines. And the results are not what you think. To understand this financial mirage, we first need a baseline. The world of elite law firms operates on something called the Cravath scale. Named after the prestigious New York firm Cravath, Swaine & Moore, it's the standardized lockstep salary structure that nearly every major law firm in the country adopts to compete for the best talent. As of our analysis, that starting salary for a first-year associate fresh out of law school is a staggering $225,000. Whether you're working in a glass tower in Manhattan or a high-rise in Houston, if you're in big law, your gross pay is almost certainly identical. This standardization is the key. It creates a perfect natural experiment. By holding the income constant, we can isolate the true variable, the city itself. We can finally calculate a lawyer's effective salary, not what their offer letter says, but what their bank account actually feels. To do this, we're not just looking at one or two factors. We're creating a comprehensive model based on 3 critical pillars. First, the most obvious and the most brutal, taxes. This isn't just about federal taxes, which everyone pays. We're talking about the silent killers of wealth, state and city income taxes. A lawyer in Miami pays a 0% state income tax. A lawyer in Manhattan pays a combined state and city tax rate that can approach 11%. On a $225,000 salary, that's a difference of over $24,000 a year. That's a brand new car, a down payment fund, or a massive chunk of student debt, gone simply based on your zip code. Second, we have the cost of living index. But we're going deeper than just the price of milk and gas. We're focusing on the big law lifestyle cost. This means analyzing the specific expenses that dominate a young, high-earning professional's budget. We're talking about the median rent for a modern, safe, one-bedroom apartment in a desirable neighborhood close to the office. We're talking about transportation costs, whether that's a monthly subway pass or the crippling expense of owning, parking, and insuring a car in a dense urban core. It includes the cost of groceries, utilities, and a reasonable budget for the social life that's expected in these high-pressure jobs. The dinners with colleagues, the weekend trips, the happy hours that are all part of the professional landscape. And third, our final metric, is the Wealth Velocity Score. This is the true measure of financial progress. It answers the question, how fast can you get rich? We calculate this by taking your post-tax, post-cost of living disposable income, and measuring it against 2 goals. Goal number 1. The time it takes to pay off the average law school debt, which currently sits at a soul-crushing $170,000. Goal number 2. The time it takes to save a 20% down payment on a median-priced home in that city's metropolitan area. A city with a high wealth velocity score is a place where your high income translates directly into rapid debt reduction and asset accumulation. A city with a low score is a financial hamster wheel, where you're running furiously just to stay in the same place. So, with our framework established, taxes, lifestyle cost, and wealth velocity, let's begin our journey. And we have to start in the city that defines the entire system, the undisputed king of the legal world, New York City. On paper, it's the dream. A $225,000 salary in the city that never sleeps. You've made it. You picture the corner office, the skyline views, the succession lifestyle. But let's pull back the curtain and run the numbers. Let's see what that dream actually costs. First, the taxman cometh, and in New York, he comes with friends. Your $225,000 salary is immediately hit with federal taxes. Then New York State takes its cut, at a rate of 6.85%. And just when you think it's over, New York City itself reaches into your pocket for another 3.876%. Before you've even paid for a single slice of pizza, this triple tax onslaught vaporizes approximately $88,000 of your salary. Your $250,000 income is now, in reality, about $137,000. That's just over $11,000 a month. Still sounds like a lot, right? But now you need a place to live. And you're not living in a distant outer borough with a 90-minute commute when you're expected to be at the office until 2 a.m. You need to be in Manhattan or a prime neighborhood in Brooklyn. A decent, modern, not shoebox-sized one-bedroom apartment will run you, conservatively, $5,000 a month. That's $60,000 a year. So let's update the math. Your $137,000 in post-tax income is now down to $77,000 after you pay your landlord. We're not done. Remember those student loans? Let's assume you have the average $170,000 in debt. On a standard 10-year repayment plan, you're looking at a monthly payment of around $2,000. That's another $24,000 a year. Your take-home pay of $137,000, after rent and student loans, has now dwindled to just $53,000 for the entire year. That's about $4,400 a month left over for everything else. Everything. Your utilities and high-speed internet, which are non-negotiable. Your Metro card for the subway. Your groceries from Whole Foods or Gristette's, where a single bag can cost $100. Your gym membership. Your cell phone bill. The occasional Uber home late at night because you're too exhausted to function. And what about that big law lifestyle? The expensive dinners to network? The suits and professional attire you have to buy? A weekend trip to get out of the city and decompress? Suddenly, that $4,400 a month feels suffocatingly tight. Many associates report that after all is said and done, they are lucky to save $1,000 a month. Some save nothing at all. Think about that. You are working 80 hours a week, sacrificing your health and your relationships, generating millions of dollars in revenue for your firm, and you are saving less than a public school teacher in a lower-cost state. This is the New York City trap. Now let's look at our wealth velocity score. With savings of, let's be optimistic and say $1,500 a month, it would take you over 9 years just to pay off your student loans. And a down payment on a home? The median price for an apartment in Manhattan is over $1 million. A 20% down payment is $200,000. At your current savings rate, it would take you over 11 years to save up for it. By the time you've saved enough, the price will have likely doubled. You are perpetually behind. The shocking truth is that a $225,000 salary in New York City gives you the disposable income and wealth-building potential of someone earning maybe $85,000 in a city like Charlotte or Phoenix. You have the prestige, but you don't have the financial freedom. You are living in a gilded cage, trapped by golden handcuffs that aren't even really golden. They're just gold-plated. So if New York, the very heart of American law and finance, is a financial illusion for a young lawyer, where do you go? Where does that exact same $225,000 salary stop being a ticket to a life of high-end survival and start being a rocket ship to actual life-changing wealth? The answer is a city that's exploding in growth, a place that has poached talent and entire companies from states like California and New York, but where the cost of living hasn't fully caught up to its new reality. We're heading south, to the Lone Star State. And we land in Houston, Texas. Forget the stereotypes of dusty plains and 10-gallon hats. Picture this instead. A sprawling, glittering metropolis of glass and steel, the fourth largest city in the nation. This is the undisputed energy capital of the world. A place where multi-billion-dollar deals aren't just common. They're the lifeblood of the city, flowing like the oil in the pipelines beneath it. Houston is a city of immense wealth, international diversity, and a swaggering confidence that it's building the future. Now, to understand the legal landscape here, let's meet Sarah. Sarah is not a hypothetical. She represents thousands of real, ambitious law students every single year. She just finished her second year at a top 20 law school. She's brilliant, she's hungry, and she has 2 job offers for after she graduates. Both are from elite global law firms. Both are offering her a position as a first-year associate. The first offer is from a firm in New York City, the classic dream, the one you see in the movies, working in a skyscraper in Midtown Manhattan, pulling all-nighters to close a deal that will be on the front page of the Wall Street Journal. The firm is offering her the top-of-the-market salary, what's known in the industry as the Cravath scale. For her first year, that number is $225,000. $225,000. For a 25-year-old, it's a staggering amount of money. Feels like winning the lottery. She pictures the life. The bustling streets, the world-class restaurants, the feeling of being at the absolute center of the legal and financial universe. This is the path everyone expects her to take. It's the definition of success. But Sarah's smart. She looks past the glittering headline number, and she starts doing the math. First, taxes. That $225,000 isn't what she takes home. Not even close. After federal taxes, she has to contend with New York's formidable state and city income taxes. We're talking about a combined rate that can easily slice off another 10% or more. Suddenly, her $225,000 feels more like $140,000 in her actual bank account. Then there's the biggest predator of all in New York City, rent. To live alone in a reasonably safe neighborhood in Manhattan, in a studio apartment that might be generously described as cozy, she's looking at $4,000 a month. That's $48,000 a year. Post-tax, just to have a place to sleep. Her take-home pay is now down to $92,000. From that, she has to pay for everything else. A monthly subway pass, groceries that cost a fortune at places like Gristed's or Whole Foods. A sandwich for lunch near her office is $18. A cocktail with friends after work is $22. The city, as magical as it is designed to relentlessly drain your wallet. At the end of her first year of making a staggering salary, Sarah calculates she might, if she's incredibly disciplined, be able to save $10,000 or $15,000. She'd be living a life that looks glamorous on Instagram, but feels like she's constantly treading water financially. Then she looks at her second offer. It's from an equally prestigious global firm, but it's in their Houston office. And here's the first shocker, the piece of information that most people outside the legal world don't know. The salary is exactly the same. $225,000. The top law firms in Houston pay the exact same as the top firms in New York. The prestige is different, sure. The deals are more likely to be about oil and gas or renewable energy than hostile takeovers of tech companies, but the money, the number on the offer letter, is identical. So Sarah starts doing the math again. First, taxes. The great, beautiful financial cheat code of Texas. 0 state income tax. 0. There's no city income tax either. That 10% chunk that New York State and City were taking, it goes directly into Sarah's pocket. Right off the bat, her take-home pay is over $20,000 higher than her New York counterpart. Her $225,000 salary after federal taxes feels much closer to $160,000. Then she looks at rent. This is where the entire picture shatters. For half of what she'd pay for that tiny Manhattan studio, for around $2,000 a month, she can get a brand new, one-bedroom luxury apartment in the Heights or Montrose, two of Houston's most vibrant and desirable neighborhoods. We're talking 1,000 square feet, floor-to-ceiling windows, a resort-style pool, a state-of-the-art gym, in-unit washer and dryer, and a parking spot for her car. Because yes, she can afford a car. Gas is cheaper, insurance is cheaper. Her take-home pay after housing is now $136,000. Compare that to the $92,000 in New York. That's a $44,000 difference every single year. But it doesn't stop there. That lunch sandwich? It's $10. That after-work drink? $8. Her grocery bill is 30% lower. Her quality of life isn't just a little better. It's a completely different reality. Let's put it in stark terms. New York Sarah at the end of the year might save $15,000. She's paying off her student loans at a snail's pace. She's living paycheck to paycheck, despite a six-figure salary. Houston Sarah, without even trying, could save $60,000 in her first year. $60,000. She could max out her 401k, aggressively pay down her student debt, and still have more disposable income for travel and hobbies than New York Sarah could ever dream of. In 5 years, Houston Sarah could have a down payment for a house. A real house with a yard. In 5 years, New York Sarah might finally be able to afford a one-bedroom apartment. This is the hidden truth of lawyer pay. It's not about the gross salary. It's about purchasing power. It's about your effective salary after the cost of survival is subtracted. The young lawyer in Houston isn't just making a living. She's building wealth. She's getting a massive head start on her financial future, all while working for a firm of the same caliber and earning the same nominal pay as her peer in New York. She has traded the perceived prestige of being in the center of the universe for the tangible, life-altering power of financial freedom. The choice for Sarah becomes clear. It's a decision rooted not in ego, but in logic. It's about playing chess, not checkers, with her career and her life. But this formula, high nationally competitive salary plus a lower cost of living, isn't unique to Houston. It's a powerful dynamic playing out in several other American cities. But what happens when you tweak that formula? What if the goal isn't just about maximizing your savings account, but about maximizing your life outside the office? There's a city where the legal market is exploding for a very new, very specific reason. A place where the sun shines, the culture is electric, and the line between work and a permanent vacation gets dangerously blurry. But the catch is something no one ever sees coming. That city is Miami, Florida. And for the last 3 years, the Miami legal market hasn't just been hot, it's been supernova. For decades, Miami was a respectable, but ultimately regional legal hub. It was the place you went for big real estate deals, hospitality law, and a very specific brand of international finance mostly tied to Latin America. The big New York and Chicago firms had offices there, sure, but they were often small, sleepy outposts. More of a flag-planting exercise than a real power center. A Miami office was seen as a comfortable, pre-retirement gig for a senior partner who wanted to work on his golf tan. The money was good, but it wasn't New York money. The work was important, but it wasn't the kind of company-altering, headline-grabbing work that builds a legendary career. Then the world shut down. And while cities like New York and San Francisco became ghost towns, a strange migration began. A torrent of wealth, talent, and ambition, freed from the geographic constraints of a physical office, started flowing south. Tech founders from Silicon Valley, hedge fund titans from Manhattan, and private equity sharks from Chicago all looked at their spreadsheets. They saw the punishing state and city income taxes, the crushing regulations, the dreary weather, and then they looked at Florida. 0 state income tax. zero city income tax, sunshine, and a government that was rolling out a 300-foot-long red carpet, screaming, "We are open for business." It wasn't a trickle. It was a flood. Venture capital firm Founders Fund moved. Private equity giant Thoma Bravo planted a flag. And then came the earthquake. Ken Griffin, the billionaire founder of the hedge fund Citadel, announced he was moving his entire global headquarters from Chicago to a custom-built waterfront tower in Miami. This wasn't just opening a satellite office. This was moving the entire Death Star. We are talking about one of the most powerful financial institutions on the planet, relocating its nerve center to Biscayne Bay. And with them, they brought an insatiable, ravenous demand for elite legal services. Suddenly, Miami wasn't just a place for real estate law anymore. It was a global hub for $100 billion fund formations, for nine-figure tech acquisitions, for the most complex, high-stakes litigation and transactional work in the world. The sleepy outposts of big law firms were caught completely flat-footed. They didn't have the lawyers. They didn't have the expertise. The local talent pool, while good, was simply not equipped to handle this tsunami of sophisticated work. So a war began. A bidding war for talent. Firms like Kirkland & Ellis, Sidley Austin, and Winston & Strawn realized they couldn't just offer a Florida salary anymore. To get a fifth-year M&A associate to leave their team in New York and move to Miami, they had to make an offer that was impossible to refuse. So they did something that shattered the entire legal salary structure. They started paying Miami lawyers New York money. Full stop. The official Cravath scale salary. That means a first-year associate, fresh out of law school in Miami, was now making the exact same base salary as a first year in the heart of Manhattan, $225,000. A senior associate was clearing $435,000. And that's before the bonus. But here's where it gets truly insane. That money goes so much further. It's what we call the tax alpha. Let's break it down. Take that $225,000 first-year salary. In New York City, you pay your federal income tax, of course. But then you pay New York State income tax, which can climb up to over 10%. And on top of that, you pay New York City income tax, which is another nearly 4%. By the time the government is done with you, a huge chunk of that salary is gone before you even see it. Now let's look at that same $225,000 in Miami. You pay your federal income tax. And that's it. No state tax. No city tax. That difference, that 10 to 14% delta, is pure, untaxed cash that goes directly into your pocket. On a $225,000 salary, that's an extra $20,000 to $25,000 a year in take-home pay. It's like getting a massive raise just for changing your address. For a partner making $2 million a year, the tax savings can be over $200,000 annually. The pitch was intoxicating. It was the ultimate cheat code. You get the prestige and the career trajectory of working on Wall Street-level deals, you get the Wall Street-level salary, but you get to live where the rest of the world vacations. Your workday ends, and you're not trudging to a freezing subway. You're deciding between a rooftop bar in Brickell, a world-class restaurant in South Beach, or taking the boat out on the weekend. You're making New York money with a Florida tan and a bank account that's growing exponentially faster than your peers up north. It was, on paper, the single greatest deal in the history of the legal profession. And that is the catch. Because it's only on paper. The dream they sell you is a beautiful, seductive, and powerful illusion. The reality is something far different. Because the first thing you realize when you move to Miami, flush with cash and ready to live the dream, is that you're not the only one who got the memo. That same flood of tech and finance money that created your job opportunity has also created a cost of living crisis that makes even New Yorkers blush. You think you've escaped the brutal New York real estate market? Think again. The rent for a decent one-bedroom apartment in Brickell, the financial district where most of these law firms are located, has skyrocketed. You're looking at maybe $5,000 a month. Suddenly, that $25,000 tax advantage you were so excited about is completely vaporized, eaten alive by a landlord before you can even spend it. You're paying Manhattan prices for an apartment, but you're in Miami. Okay, you tell yourself the rent is high, but the lifestyle is worth it. I'll just have to grind for a few years, and I'll still get to enjoy this amazing city. But then the second part of the catch reveals itself. The firms didn't just import their New York salaries. They imported their New York work culture. The brutal, soul-crushing 800 billable hour-a-year culture. The expectation is that you are on call 24/7/365. The partners in the New York headquarters who are sending you the work don't care that it's 85 degrees and sunny outside your window. They have a deal closing, and they expect you to be in that office until it's done, even if that's 3 a.m. on a Saturday. So you find yourself trapped in a glass tower. You can see the ocean. You can see the yachts in the marina. You can see people living that vibrant, exciting Miami life that you were promised. But you can't touch it. You are a prisoner in paradise. You're working New York hours under New York pressure, for what effectively amounts to a New York cost of living, but you're disconnected from the firm's center of power. You miss out on the spontaneous networking, the crucial face time with the most powerful partners, the institutional knowledge that only comes from being in the mothership. You have all of the downsides of a big law job in a major market, with very few of the traditional upsides. The Miami promise becomes a golden cage. The sun mocks you. The beach becomes a symbol of a life you could have but don't. And the burnout rate is astronomical. Lawyers are flocking there for the dream and fleeing within 2 years when they collide with the reality. It's a market built on a brilliant, but ultimately unsustainable, arbitrage of money and lifestyle. But what if there was a city that flipped the script entirely? A place that doesn't try to be New York. A place where the biggest firms are being forced to adapt to a radically different culture of work and life. A city where the path to partner isn't about who you know in Manhattan, but about mastering a trillion-dollar industry that is literally reshaping the world. An industry that has made this next city the undisputed, heavyweight champion of intellectual property law. That city, of course, is San Francisco. But to be more precise, we're not just talking about one city. We're talking about an entire ecosystem, a sprawling suburban kingdom of silicon and code that we call Silicon Valley. And the lawyers who thrive here aren't the pinstripe litigators you see on TV. They are a different breed entirely. To understand the money, you have to understand the mindset. Forget the mahogany-paneled corner offices of New York. Picture instead a glass-walled conference room in Palo Alto, where a 32-year-old lawyer with a degree in electrical engineering is explaining the intricacies of patent law to a 24-year-old founder in a hoodie who just raised $100 million. This isn't about tradition. It's about innovation. The most powerful lawyers in Silicon Valley aren't the ones who can quote century-old case law. They're the ones who can read a line of Python, understand the architecture of a neural network, or explain the difference between a utility patent and a design patent for a new augmented reality headset. This is the world where legal expertise and technical fluency collide, and the financial explosion from that collision is unlike anywhere else on Earth. Let's track the career of a typical high achiever here. We'll call her Priya. Priya didn't go to Harvard or Yale. She went to a great school, maybe the University of Texas or Michigan, but she did a dual degree, law and computer science. When she graduates, she doesn't even seriously consider New York. She knows her unique skill set is a golden ticket in one place and one place only. She accepts an offer from a top Bay Area law firm like Wilson Sonsini or Cooley. Her starting salary is identical to her New York counterpart, $225,000, plus a bonus. From a pure numbers perspective on day one, it looks like a tie. But that's where the comparison ends. Her New York friend is spending his days buried in documents for a bank merger. Priya, on the other hand, is assigned to the firm's star client, a company developing self-driving car technology. Her job is to help them patent their proprietary LiDAR system. She's not just reviewing contracts. She's on the phone with engineers, diagramming schematics, and crafting the legal armor that will protect a technology that could be worth hundreds of billions of dollars. She is billing an insane number of hours just like any big law associate. The grind is real, but the work is fundamentally different. She's at the birth of a world-changing technology. After 2 years, her salary has jumped to $260,000. But something more important has happened. She's become one of a handful of lawyers in the world who deeply understands the legal landscape of autonomous vehicles. She's no longer just a lawyer. She's a strategic asset. And this is where the Silicon Valley path diverges dramatically. While the New York lawyer is still grinding away, dreaming of a partnership that's a decade away, Priya gets a call. It's not from another law firm. It's from a venture capital-backed startup, a competitor to her current client, that's still in stealth mode. They want her to come in-house, to be their head of intellectual property. They offer her a salary of $300,000, a nice bump. But that's not the real offer. The real offer is the equity. They offer her stock options representing 1% of the company. Right now, that stock is just paper. It's a lottery ticket. But the company is founded by 2 legendary engineers from Google's self-driving car project, and they've just secured a massive round of funding. This is the Silicon Valley crossroads. Priya can stay on the safe path at her law firm, where she's guaranteed to make partner in 6 or 7 years and earn $1 million, maybe $2 million a year. It's a fantastic outcome. Or she can take a leap of faith. She can bet on herself and on this new team. She takes the leap. For the next 3 years, she works harder than she ever has in her life. She builds their entire patent portfolio from scratch. She negotiates technology licensing deals. She helps the company navigate the complex regulatory maze of putting a robot car on public roads. She's not just a legal advisor. She's part of the core leadership team, sitting in on product strategy meetings and helping to shape the future of the company. Then it happens. The company announces its plan to go public. The IPO is a massive success. On the day of the IPO, the company is valued at $10 billion. Priya's 1% stake, which was just a paper promise a few years ago, is now worth $100 million. Let me repeat that. $100 million. Her law school classmates who made partner in New York are pulling in $1 million a year, living a life of incredible luxury. But Priya's wealth is now generational. She has completely transcended the traditional scale of what a lawyer can earn. Now this is, of course, the grand slam home run. Not every startup lawyer hits an IPO like this. For every success story, there are a dozen companies that fizzle out, their stock options turning to dust. It's a high-risk, high-reward ecosystem. But even the failures can be incredibly lucrative. A lawyer might join a startup that gets acquired by Apple or Amazon for a few $100 million. Their equity stake might only be worth $2 to $5 million. A life-changing amount of money that is often seen as a base hit in the Valley. This is the surprising truth about lawyer pay in Silicon Valley. The peak of the mountain isn't making partner. The law firm is often just a training ground, a 3 to 5 year stepping stone to the real prize. An in-house position at a high-growth tech company. The salary is almost secondary. The entire game is about getting a meaningful slice of equity in the next big thing. But there is a dark side to this golden promise, a cost that is rarely discussed outside the Bay Area. That $225,000 starting salary feels more like $80,000 anywhere else. The cost of living is astronomical, a true monster that devours paychecks. A tiny 1,200 square foot starter home in a decent suburb like Palo Alto or Cupertino will cost you $2.5 million. That's not a mansion. That's a fixer-upper. Rent for a simple 2-bedroom apartment can easily top $5,000 a month. State income tax is the highest in the nation. Everything from a gallon of gas to a sandwich comes with a Bay Area tax. So while young lawyers are earning more than they ever thought possible, they are often living in glorified dorm rooms with multiple roommates well into their 30s. They are trapped in a cycle of earning huge sums of money that are immediately consumed by the crushing cost of just existing. It creates a phenomenon known as the golden handcuffs. You're making $400,000 a year as a mid-level associate, but you can't afford to buy a house and you can't afford to leave because you couldn't make that kind of money anywhere else. It's a treadmill of immense pressure, where your entire professional and financial life is tied to the volatile boom and bust cycles of the tech industry. Silicon Valley offers a path to wealth for lawyers that is simply unimaginable in other cities. It has redefined the ceiling of earning potential, but it demands a specific and rare combination of skills, an appetite for immense risk, and a willingness to live in a pressure cooker where the price of entry is a fortune in itself. It's a city of extremes: extreme wealth, extreme costs, and extreme ambition. But what if your ambition isn't tied to a stock ticker or a corporate valuation? What if your definition of power isn't about building a company, but about influencing the very laws that govern them? For that, you have to leave the sunny campuses of Silicon Valley and head to a city of marble and monuments. A city where the single largest client isn't a tech giant or a Wall Street bank, but the most powerful entity in the world. Washington, D.C. A city unlike any other in America. It's not a hub of finance or technology or manufacturing. It is a city built from its very foundations on one single all-powerful product, the law itself. Every single federal statute, every line of the tax code, every environmental regulation, and every international treaty is a source code that governs the entire nation. And in DC, the lawyers aren't just using the code. They're the ones who write it, interpret it, and weaponize it. The client here is the United States government, an entity with an annual budget in the trillions and regulatory power that touches every single company in the Fortune 500. And when your client is that powerful, the lawyers who know how to work with it or against it become some of the most valuable professionals on the planet. To understand the DC legal market, you have to forget the courtroom dramas you see on TV. The most powerful lawyers here may never see the inside of a courtroom. Their battlefields are the quiet, carpeted hallways of the Securities and Exchange Commission, the Environmental Protection Agency, or the Food and Drug Administration. Imagine you're a biotech firm. You've just spent 10 years and $2 billion developing a revolutionary new drug that could save millions of lives. Your work is done, right? Not even close. Now you have to get it approved by the FDA. This is not a simple form you fill out. It's a multi-year, multi-thousand-page odyssey through a labyrinth of clinical trial data, safety protocols, and regulatory statutes so dense they make quantum physics look like a children's book. One mistake, one misinterpreted clause, and your $2 billion miracle drug is dead on arrival, delayed for years while a competitor swoops in. Who do you call? You call a DC regulatory lawyer, a person who has spent their entire career learning the specific language, culture, and internal politics of the FDA. They know which studies to emphasize, which data points to clarify, and which deputy director is the key decision-maker for your type of drug. They are part translator, part strategist, and part political Sherpa. And for this service, their firm will bill you at a rate of $1,500 an hour or more. And you will pay it. You will pay it gladly, because the alternative is watching a decade of work evaporate into nothing. Now, multiply that scenario across every single regulated industry in America. Energy companies navigating EPA rules, banks complying with SEC disclosure laws, airlines dealing with the FAA, telecom giants battling at the FCC. Every point of friction between big business and big government is a goldmine for Washington lawyers. This creates a phenomenon unique to the Capitol, a powerful current that dictates the flow of money and talent, the famous revolving door. It works like this. A brilliant, ambitious lawyer graduates from a top law school. Instead of going to a big firm, she takes a job at the Department of Justice working in the Antitrust Division. For the next 6 years, she lives and breathes antitrust law from the government side. She learns how the DOJ decides which mergers to challenge. She learns the economic models they use, the legal arguments they favor, and she builds relationships with the senior officials in the department. She does this for a government salary that might top out at $160,000 a year. It's respectable, but it's a fraction of what her classmates are making in the private sector. But she's not just earning a salary. She's accumulating a priceless asset, insider knowledge. Then one day she decides to leave public service. She updates her LinkedIn profile. Within hours, her phone starts ringing. It's the top law firms in the city, the same firm she was just recently investigating. They don't just offer her a job, they engage in a bidding war for her. Why? Because a massive tech company is trying to acquire a rival, and they need to get the deal approved by the Department of Justice. Who better to advise them on how to do it than the person who spent the last 6 years on the other side, deciding which deals live and which deals die? She knows the playbook because she helped write it. Her value is not just her legal skill, it's her predictive power. She can tell the client, the DOJ will worry about this specific market impact, so we need to frame our argument this way. Or the head of the division is skeptical of this kind of efficiency claim, so we need stronger data. This isn't about backroom deals or corruption. It's about expertise so specialized and so valuable that companies will pay millions for it. And so, our government lawyer revolves through the door into the private sector, and her salary instantly jumps from $160,000 to over $500,000, with a clear path to a partnership worth millions a year. This happens every single day in Washington. Because of this unique dynamic, the very top of the DC legal market is just as lucrative as Wall Street. The starting salary for a first-year associate at a top DC firm like Williams & Connolly or Covington & Burling is locked to the same New York scale, $225,000. But the real wealth is at the partner level. The profits per equity partner at Kirkland & Ellis, which has a massive DC presence, are over $7.5 million. At a DC powerhouse like Williams & Connolly, it's over $3 million. These lawyers are the high priests of the regulatory state, and they are compensated accordingly. But this is only one side of the city's legal world. For every revolving door partner making millions, there are thousands of lawyers who never leave public service. They are the ones who stay at the DOJ, the State Department, the EPA, or work as counsel for a congressional committee. They are driven by a sense of mission, a belief in public service, or the allure of wielding actual governmental power. They are the ones writing the policies that their former colleagues are paid millions to interpret. This creates a surreal ecosystem where two lawyers, who might have been classmates at Yale, can find themselves working on the exact same multi-billion-dollar merger case. One sits in a Spartan government office, earning a GS-15 salary of around $180,000, driven by the belief that he is protecting the American consumer. The other sits in a lavish, private office with a view of the Washington Monument, billing his time at $1,800 an hour, driven to get the deal done for his client. They are intellectual equals, fighting on the same battlefield of ideas, but living in entirely different financial universes. This is the central paradox of Washington, D.C. It is a city where you can get rich by cashing in on your government service, or you can be powerful by staying inside the government itself. But it is very, very difficult to be both at the same time. The money in D.C. flows from a single source: proximity to power. The closer you are to the machinery of government, and the better you understand how to operate it, the more you are worth. It's a city of insiders, where knowledge is the ultimate currency. But what happens when we leave this world of regulations and lobbying behind? What about the cities where a lawyer's fortune isn't made in a quiet negotiation with a government agency, but in the explosive high-stakes drama of a public courtroom? For that, we have to travel to a place where the stories are bigger, the personalities are brighter, and the jury awards can change the world overnight. A city where the law isn't just about influencing power, but about celebrity, spectacle, and the fight for a person's life and legacy. That city, of course, is Los Angeles, the city of angels, Tinseltown, the place where dreams are manufactured, packaged, and sold to the world. And for every dream, for every multi-million-dollar movie deal, for every hit song, for every celebrity brand, there is a lawyer in a sharp suit, in a high-rise office overlooking the Pacific, making sure the contracts are ironclad and the money flows in the right direction. Welcome to the wild world of entertainment law. In most cities, the most prestigious and highest-paid lawyers work in corporate law, mergers and acquisitions. In LA, the king is the entertainment lawyer. But what does that even mean? It's not one job. It's a universe of specialties. You have the dealmakers, the lawyers who represent A-list actors, directors, and musicians. Their job is to negotiate contracts that are more complex than most international treaties. They're fighting for every dollar, every percentage point of the back end, every creative control clause. Their pay isn't a flat salary. Oh no, they typically work on a percentage, usually 5% of their clients' earnings from the deals they negotiate. Let's put that into perspective. An A-list actor gets a $20 million upfront fee for a blockbuster movie. The lawyer's cut? $1 million. For one deal. Now imagine that actor also has a production company, a fragrance line, and a tequila brand. The lawyer is getting 5% of all of it. This is how you get entertainment lawyers who are arguably more powerful and wealthier than many of the stars they represent. These are the lawyers whose names are whispered with reverence on studio lots. The kingmakers who can attach talent to a project with a single phone call. Their annual income isn't measured in the hundreds of thousands. It's measured in the millions, sometimes tens of millions. But that's the absolute pinnacle. What about the lawyer for the up-and-coming indie band? Or the screenwriter who just sold their first script? They're not paying their lawyer millions. Here you'll find lawyers working at boutique firms who charge by the hour, maybe $500 to $1,000 an hour, to review contracts and protect their clients from predatory studio deals. These lawyers might make a very comfortable $300,000 to $600,000 a year, but they live in the shadow of the giants. It's a high-stakes, high-reward game built on relationships. Your client list is your lifeblood. If your star client's career fades, so does your income. Then there's the other side of Hollywood law, the litigation. This is where the spectacle happens. Intellectual property lawyers are in a constant state of war. Was that movie idea stolen? Did that hit song lift its melody from an old, forgotten track? These copyright infringement cases can be worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Think about the lawsuits over franchises like Marvel or Star Wars, where the ownership of a single character can be worth billions. The lawyers fighting these battles are some of the sharpest IP minds in the country, and their pay reflects that. A top partner at a firm specializing in entertainment litigation can easily clear $2 to $3 million a year, with bonuses that could double that in a good year. And we can't talk about LA law without mentioning defamation. In a city built on image and reputation, a false accusation or a scandalous story can end a career overnight. This has created a booming market for lawyers who are masters of both the courtroom and the press. They are the ones filing multi-million-dollar lawsuits against tabloids, and also the ones defending those media outlets. It's a brutal, high-profile world where a win doesn't just mean a monetary award. It means vindication and the resurrection of a public image. But to believe that law in Los Angeles is only about Hollywood would be a huge mistake. LA is a sprawling, global economic powerhouse, and its legal market is just as diverse. Take real estate. The dirt in Los Angeles is some of the most expensive on the planet. The legal work behind developing a new skyscraper downtown, building a massive studio complex in the valley, or navigating the labyrinth of zoning laws in Beverly Hills is monumental. A top-tier real estate partner in LA is every bit the financial equal of their entertainment law counterpart, pulling in $1 to $3 million a year structuring deals that reshape the city's skyline. And then there's Silicon Beach. The stretch of LA from Santa Monica to Playa Vista has become a global hub for tech, gaming, and new media companies. This isn't San Francisco, but the legal work is just as cutting edge. Venture capital lawyers are structuring 9-figure funding rounds for startups aiming to be the next Snapchat or Riot Games. Patent attorneys are protecting the revolutionary tech behind streaming algorithms and virtual reality. These lawyers are at the intersection of technology and entertainment, a uniquely LA phenomenon. A senior lawyer in this space can expect to make anywhere from $400,000 to over $1 million, often with the added lottery ticket of stock options in a pre-IPO company. Now for the surprising truth. The number on the paycheck in Los Angeles can be dangerously deceptive, because the cost of living, and more importantly, the cost of existing in the professional world of LA, is astronomical. That beautiful house in Santa Monica or a modest home in the Hollywood Hills, you're looking at $3, $4, even $5 million. That's not a mansion. That's just the price of admission. The state income tax is the highest in the nation, taking a huge bite out of that 7-figure salary. But it's more than just a numbers game. It's about the pressure of the lifestyle. In LA's legal circles, perception is reality. The car you drive, the neighborhood you live in, the private school your kids attend, the country club you belong to. These aren't just lifestyle choices. They are part of your professional brand. They signal success. They are a nonverbal cue to potential clients that you are a player. A $700,000 salary can feel middle class when your mortgage is $25,000 a month, and you're surrounded by people whose wealth is simply on another level. The burnout rate is notoriously high. The glamour of walking the red carpet at a client's movie premiere is paid for with 1,000 sleepless nights, with deals that collapse at 3 a.m., and with a level of pressure that is simply relentless. So the LA lawyer story is one of extremes. The potential for wealth is almost limitless, far exceeding the lockstep salaries of New York or DC. It's a city where a lawyer can become a brand, a power broker as famous as their clients. But it's also a city that can chew you up and spit you out. It demands not just legal brilliance, but a mastery of networking, branding, and a stomach for incredible risk. It's a pure meritocracy of results, where you are only as good as your last deal. From the sun-drenched, high-stakes world of Hollywood deal-making, we now move north. We travel up the coast to a city that couldn't be more different. A city shrouded in fog and revolutionary ideas, where the lawyers aren't negotiating for movie stars, but for the code and the algorithms that are fundamentally reshaping human existence. We land in San Francisco, the epicenter of the digital earthquake. Here, the currency isn't just the dollar. It's equity. It's the vesting schedule. It's the strike price. The lawyers in the Bay Area are not just advisors. They are prospectors in a digital gold rush, and the stakes are astronomical. A single line of code, a single patent, a single clause in a terms of service agreement can be the difference between $1 billion unicorn and a forgotten footnote in tech history. The legal world here moves at the speed of a software update. Forget the dusty law libraries and mahogany-paneled offices. The most important legal work in Silicon Valley is happening over encrypted messages at 2 a.m, hashing out the details of a Series C funding round that needs to close before the market opens in Asia. It's a world of venture capital, intellectual property, and mergers and acquisitions on a scale that is simply breathtaking. And the lawyers who thrive here are a different breed. They understand not just the law, but the technology, the market, and the ego of the 25-year-old founder who believes he's the next Steve Jobs. Let me tell you about a lawyer we'll call Anna. Anna was a rising star at a prestigious San Francisco law firm, pulling in over $400,000 a year advising massive, publicly traded tech companies. She had the corner office, the expense account, the whole package. But she was restless. She was helping giants get bigger, but she wasn't building anything. Then she got a call. It was from a former client, a brilliant but eccentric engineer who had just left a major tech company to start his own venture. He had a radical idea for a new kind of artificial intelligence platform. He also had 3 other employees, a rented garage in Mountain View, and almost no money. He made Anna an offer that her partners at the law firm called career suicide. He couldn't match her salary, not even close. He offered her $180,000 a year. But he also offered her a title, general counsel, and something else. He offered her 1% of the company in stock options. 1% of nothing. Her colleagues laughed. Her parents were worried. 1% of a company operating next to a lawnmower and a stack of old tires. But Anna saw something in the founder's eyes, in the elegant ferocity of his code. She took the leap. The first 2 years were brutal. She wasn't just the lawyer. She was human resources, she was the office manager. She was the person who ordered the pizza for the all-night coding sessions. She drafted every contract, filed every patent application herself, and fought off a patent troll who tried to sue them into oblivion. There were moments she was certain they were going to fail. A critical funding round almost collapsed. A key engineer threatened to quit and take the intellectual property with him. Each time, Anna was the one who held it together, navigating the legal minefields that could have vaporized the company overnight. Then it happened. Their AI platform didn't just work. It was a breakthrough. It started getting traction. First with other startups, then with mid-sized businesses, then with the Fortune 500. The garage was traded for a sleek office campus. The 3 employees became 300, then 3,000. 4 years after Anna took that massive pay cut, the company went public. The opening bell rang on the NASDAQ, and in that single moment, Anna's 1%, that 1% of nothing, was suddenly worth $48 million. This is the dream that powers the entire Bay Area legal market. It's the reason why a top graduate from Stanford Law might turn down a $250,000 starting salary at a top firm to go work for a startup. They're not just chasing a salary, they're chasing a lottery ticket. But let's be clear, stories like Anna's are the exception, not the rule. For every lawyer who hits the IPO jackpot, there are 100 whose stock options end up as worthless digital paper. So what does the pay look like for everyone else? For the associates at the elite tech-focused law firms, the Wilson Sonsinis, the Cooleys, the Fenwick and Wests, the starting salary is the same national standard, $225,000. But the bonuses can be supercharged. And by year 8, a senior associate or counsel can easily be clearing $500,000 to $700,000 a year. Partners at these firms, they're routinely making between $2 and $5 million a year, with the top rainmakers who handle the biggest IPOs and M&A deals soaring well past that. Then there's the other popular path, going in-house at an established tech giant. Think Apple, Google, Meta, or Netflix. Here, the compensation structure is a masterclass in golden handcuffs. A senior lawyer moving from a firm to, say, Google, might get a base salary of around $300,000. Solid, but not a huge jump. The real money is in the RSUs, restricted stock units. The company will grant them a block of stock, perhaps $800,000 worth, that vests over a 4-year period. So, you add that $200,000 in stock per year to their $300,000 salary, plus a cash bonus, and suddenly they're making over $550,000 a year. And if the company's stock price goes up, the value of that grant goes up with it. It's an incredibly powerful tool to keep talent. You might get tired of the grind, but are you really going to walk away when you have $100,000 in stock vesting next quarter? But there's a massive unavoidable catch to all of these staggering numbers. The cost of living in the San Francisco Bay Area is so absurd, so stratospherically high, that it fundamentally warps the value of a dollar. That $225,000 starting salary feels very different when the median price for a small 2-bedroom starter home in a decent suburb is $2 million. Not a mansion, a regular tract-style house. Rent for a 1-bedroom apartment in San Francisco can easily top $3,500 a month. California state income tax is the highest in the nation. You can be a lawyer making $400,000 a year, a salary that would make you unequivocally rich in almost any other part of the country. And in the Bay Area, you can still feel like you're just scraping by. You're living in a small condo, you've got a mountain of student debt, and you're wondering how you'll ever afford to buy a home for your family. This crushing financial pressure creates a unique legal culture. It's a culture of calculated risk. It forces people to gamble on startups. It makes the idea of working 80 hours a week for a decade in big law seem like a rational choice, Because it's one of the only paths to affording the so-called normal American dream of homeownership. The legal world of San Francisco is a paradox. It's a place of hoodies and casual Fridays, but it harbors a competitive intensity that would make a Wall Street trader sweat. It's a city that preaches changing the world, while obsessively tracking stock valuations and funding rounds. It is, without a doubt, one of the most lucrative places on earth to be a lawyer. But it is also a place where a seven-figure income might not be enough to make you feel secure, and where the ultimate prize isn't a stable career, but a single life-changing liquidity event. From the digital frontier of San Francisco, we now journey across the entire country. We leave behind the world of code and venture capital for a city built on marble and granite. A city where the real power isn't held by founders or CEOs, but by senators, lobbyists, and regulators. We're heading to the one city where a single sentence, debated in a quiet committee room, can unleash or destroy billions of dollars of value across the entire global economy. Washington, D.C. This isn't a city of commerce in the way New York or San Francisco is. The skyscrapers here aren't monuments to capitalism. They're monuments to regulation. The most valuable commodity isn't a patent or a stock certificate. It's a footnote in a piece of legislation. In Washington, the law isn't just a tool to facilitate business. It is the business. And the lawyers who practice here operate in an ecosystem unlike any other on earth, where proximity to power is the ultimate currency. To understand lawyer pay in DC, you have to first understand that the 800-pound gorilla in the room isn't a law firm or a corporation. It's the United States federal government. It is the single largest employer of lawyers in the city, and arguably the world. Thousands upon thousands of attorneys work for the Department of Justice, the Securities and Exchange Commission, the Federal Trade Commission, the EPA, the FDA, and 100 other acronyms that collectively form the administrative state. These are the people who write the rules, enforce the rules, and sue the people who break the rules. And their pay? It's public, it's predictable, and it's a world away from big law. Most federal government attorneys are paid on the general schedule, or GS scale. You might start as a GS 11 or 12, making around $80,000 or $90,000 a year. Over a long and successful career, you could climb to the very top of the scale at GS 15 Step 10, which, with DC's locality pay adjustment, might put you at around $190,000 a year. Now, that is a fantastic salary for the vast majority of Americans. It provides a stable, comfortable upper-middle-class life. You get a pension, you get federal holidays, and you get what many in the private sector desperately crave, a mission. You're not helping a private equity fund squeeze another 2% out of a leveraged buyout. You're prosecuting international cartels or ensuring life-saving drugs are safe. That's a powerful motivator. But $190,000 is what a second-year associate makes at a top DC law firm. A partner at that same firm might be clearing $3 or $4 million a year. So why would anyone take the government job? Because in Washington, the government job isn't the end of the road. For the most ambitious, it's the training ground. It's the launch pad. It's a multi-year investment in the single most valuable asset a DC lawyer can possess. An insider's perspective. This is the secret engine of DC's legal economy, a mechanism so famous it has its own name, the revolving door. Here's how it works. You graduate from a top law school and join, say, the antitrust division of the Department of Justice. For the next 5 to 10 years, you live and breathe merger reviews. You learn the statutes inside and out. But more importantly, you learn the people. You learn which arguments resonate with your division chief. You learn which economic models the staff economists find persuasive. You learn the unwritten rules, the internal politics, the institutional biases. You build a reputation as a smart, tough, but reasonable regulator. Then one day you decide to leave. And the moment you walk out of the government building for the last time, your market value doesn't just double or triple. It increases by a factor of 10 or 20 or even 50. Every major law firm in the city will want you. Why? Because you are now the ultimate cheat code. When a multi-billion-dollar company wants to merge with its competitor, a deal that could be worth hundreds of millions in fees to a law firm, who are they going to hire to get it approved by the government? The partner who has only ever argued against the government? Or you? The person who spent a decade on the other side of the table, who personally knows the people who will make the final decision, who can anticipate their every concern and craft the perfect argument to assuage it. You're not just selling legal advice, you're selling intelligence. You're selling access. And in Washington, that is a product with a nearly unlimited price tag. This creates a distinct archetype, the DC superlawyer. These are the partners at legendary DC firms like Covington and Burling, Williams and Connolly, or Hogan Lovells. Their power isn't just derived from their legal brilliance, but from their resumes. They are former White House counsels, former solicitors general, former directors of the SEC, former senators. Their job is to solve Washington problems, a crisis that can't be fixed with a simple lawsuit, but requires a delicate, multi-pronged strategy of litigation, regulation, and public relations. When a CEO is subpoenaed to testify before Congress, when a company is facing a bet the company federal investigation, when a foreign government needs to navigate the labyrinth of U.S. sanctions, these are the lawyers you call. And their billing rates reflect that. We're talking $2,000 an hour or more. Their annual compensation isn't just in the millions. It can push into the 8-figure range, rivaling the very top of Wall Street. For the young associates who flock to D.C., Big Law, the starting salary is identical to New York's, the same lockstep scale starting at $225,000. But the work itself is imbued with the city's unique character. Instead of sifting through deal documents for an acquisition, you might be drafting a public comment on a proposed rule by the Environmental Protection Agency that could affect an entire industry. Instead of preparing for a commercial deposition, you might be helping a partner prep a 4-star general for a congressional hearing. The hours are just as punishing, the pressure just as intense, but the subject matter is the very machinery of government. And what about the cost of living that salary? DC is an intensely expensive city. It may not have the sheer sticker shock of a Manhattan apartment, but the cost of housing in desirable neighborhoods like Georgetown, Colorama, or even the newly developed Wharf District is staggering. A first-year associate is not buying a historic row house. They're paying $4,000 a month for a 1-bedroom apartment in a building filled with other ambitious young professionals. And the pressure to spend money doesn't stop there. DC runs on relationships. Your social life is an extension of your professional life. It's expensive steak dinners with clients, $500 a plate political fundraisers, and an endless circuit of networking events where your suit and your business card are your armor. That $225,000 salary gets stretched thin fast when you're paying DC taxes, servicing 6 figures of student loan debt, and trying to maintain the polished image required to move through the city's corridors of power. So while the pay scale in Washington seems on the surface to be a 2-tiered system, the modest, stable government salary versus the stratospheric big law salary, the truth is far more complex. It's a single interconnected ecosystem powered by a constant flow of talent and information. The government provides the training, the private sector provides the massive financial reward, and the revolving door keeps it all spinning. The ultimate prize in this city isn't just wealth, it's influence. It's the ability to shape the laws that govern the entire country. We've seen the financial centers, the tech hubs, the industrial heartland, and the seat of political power. Each city has its own unique legal DNA, its own formula for risk and reward. But so far, we've only looked at the map of the United States. To truly understand the forces that shape a lawyer's destiny, we need to look at one final map. It's not a map of geography, but of ideology. A map that divides the entire legal profession into 2 warring kingdoms, where the path you choose can lead to either a comfortable living or a fortune so vast it can change the world. This map shows 2 great empires, locked in a perpetual, high-stakes war fought not with soldiers, but with subpoenas, not with cannons but with cross-examinations. On one side, you have the kingdom of the billable hour. On the other, the republic of the contingency fee. And the path a lawyer chooses between these 2 domains doesn't just determine their salary, it determines their entire reality. Let's first explore the kingdom of the billable hour. This is the world of big law. It is a land of towering glass fortresses in the downtown cores of New York, Chicago, and Los Angeles. It is an empire built on stability, predictability, and immense fortified wealth. The citizens of this kingdom, the associates and partners of major corporate law firms, serve the most powerful clients in the world. The Fortune 500, the investment banks, the global conglomerates. Their primary directive is defense. They are the Praetorian Guard for corporate America. Their job is to manage risk, to crush litigation, to ensure the vast treasuries of their clients remain intact. The currency of this realm, as the name suggests, is time itself. Every minute of a lawyer's day is meticulously tracked in 6-minute increments. A phone call, an email, reading a document, it's all billed. A first-year associate, fresh out of law school, might bill over 2,000 hours a year at a rate of $500 or $600 an hour. The firm, in turn, pays them a handsome predetermined salary. This is the famous lockstep model. In 2024, a first-year associate at a top New York firm makes a base salary of $225,000. This salary marches up in lockstep every year they stay with the firm. By their 8th year, they're making over $435,000, plus a bonus that can approach $200,000. It is a golden path, paved and predictable. If you can endure the grueling hours and the immense pressure, you are virtually guaranteed to become a millionaire by your mid-30s. If you make partner, your income enters a new stratosphere. Partners at the most profitable firms in America, the so-called AmLaw 100, have average profits per partner that routinely exceed $3, $4, even $6 million per year. It is a life of immense prestige and financial security, but it comes with a price. Known as the golden handcuffs, this path often demands a near-total sacrifice of personal time. More importantly, there is a ceiling. A very high ceiling to be sure, but a ceiling nonetheless. A lawyer in this kingdom is ultimately trading their time for money. Their wealth is built by the hour, brick by brick, in a long, arduous but certain process. They are building a fortress of wealth. But across the battlefield lies a completely different world. The Republic of the Contingency Fee. This is not a land of stability. It is the wild, untamed frontier. There are no guaranteed salaries here. There are no predictable bonuses. The lawyers in this republic, the plaintiffs' attorneys and trial lawyers, don't get paid by the hour. They get paid only if they win. They are mercenaries, crusaders, and gamblers, all rolled into one. They represent the individual, the person injured by a faulty product, the family devastated by corporate negligence, the small business crushed by a monopoly. Their entire financial existence is a high-stakes bet. When they take on a case, they typically cover all the upfront costs themselves. This can mean hundreds of thousands, sometimes millions of dollars spent on expert witnesses, depositions, and investigations, with absolutely no guarantee of ever seeing that money again. If they lose the case, they get nothing. Zero. They eat the entire cost. But if they win, if they convince a jury to award a massive verdict or force a corporation into a giant settlement, they receive a percentage of that award. Usually it's between 33 and 40%. And this is where the math becomes truly mind-boggling. This is how you find the fortunes that can, quite literally, change the world. A $10 million verdict for a single injured client could mean a $4 million fee for the law firm. Now scale that up. Think of the massive class action lawsuits. The tobacco litigation in the 1990s resulted in legal fees in the billions of dollars. The Volkswagen Dieselgate scandal, the BP Deepwater Horizon oil spill, the ongoing lawsuits against pharmaceutical companies for the opioid crisis. These cases generate settlements so large that the contingency fees for the lead law firms can reach into the hundreds of millions, or even billions, of dollars. A single victory can create generational wealth overnight. It can allow a small 10-person firm in rural Texas to earn more in 1 year than a 1,000-lawyer firm in Manhattan. This is the fundamental difference. The lawyer in the kingdom of the billable hour is paid to play defense, to minimize the payout. Their goal is to make the problem smaller. The lawyer in the Republic of the Contingency Fee is paid to play offense. Their goal is to secure the largest payout humanly possible. They are not building a fortress. They are leading a treasure hunt, and sometimes they find El Dorado. This ideological map creates the central conflict of the entire legal profession. When a major airline disaster occurs, two armies mobilize. From the kingdom of the billable hour, the airline's law firm dispatches legions of attorneys. Their strategy is attrition. They will file thousands of motions, demand millions of pages of documents, and schedule hundreds of depositions, all billed by the hour, designed to bleed the other side dry, to make the fight so expensive and so exhausting that the plaintiffs will be forced to accept a lowball settlement offer. From the Republic of the Contingency Fee, a small consortium of plaintiffs' lawyers will band together, pooling their resources to finance the fight. They know they can't win a war of attrition. They have one weapon and one weapon only, the story. Their entire case rests on their ability to stand in front of 12 ordinary citizens on a jury and tell a story so compelling, so righteous, so emotionally powerful that the jury will feel moved to punish the defendant with a verdict so large it sends a shockwave through the entire industry. It is a battle between overwhelming force and a single well-aimed silver bullet. This isn't just about money. It's about worldview. Many corporate defense attorneys genuinely see themselves as guardians of the free market, protecting innovative companies from frivolous lawsuits and ambulance chasers, who they believe stifle the economy. They believe they are upholding order. Inversely, plaintiffs' lawyers see themselves as the last line of defense for the common person. They believe they are the only force capable of holding the most powerful entities on Earth accountable for their actions. They see themselves as agents of justice. So, what is the surprising truth about lawyer pay in major American cities? It's not just that a lawyer in a lower tax city might take home more. It's not just that a patent litigator makes more than a family lawyer. The most profound truth is that the path to a guaranteed, comfortable multi-million-dollar career lies within the stable, predictable walls of the kingdom of the billable hour. But the path to truly astronomical, world-altering wealth, the kind of money that lets you start foundations, fund political movements, or buy islands, that path runs through the volatile, high-risk, high-reward territory of the Republic of the Contingency Fee. The highest-paid lawyer in America in any given year is almost never a partner at a prestigious Wall Street firm. It is almost always a trial lawyer you've never heard of, from a city you wouldn't expect, who bet their entire career on a single righteous case against a corporate giant and won a verdict that made headlines around the globe. The choice every lawyer makes, whether they realize it or not, is a choice between these two kingdoms. Do you want to spend your life defending the fortress, earning a king's ransom to guard the treasure? Or do you want to spend your life on the frontier, risking it all for a chance to find a treasure of your own? The answer to that question will define not only your bank account, but the entire purpose of your career.